Yeah, I'm going to be talking to John Hatherly. John, tell us about the meaning of life, or your sex life, whichever takes longest.
Well, do you want me to write an encyclopedia?
Yeah.
I could certainly do that. That would help you.
Well, that's great. So up till and of course this goes out of the weekend, so we try and say on Friday rather than today. So we'll do a very quick bit on that. Then we'll do. We've got the links into the bites and what have you. Then we can do Germany, because John, in the second part, John does a bit about Germany. So we'll a quick bit off the back of that about why they're doing so well, and then okay, what? Yeah, and then all the sort of where we go and all that. The discussion bits is in part 3, so it's structured. Yeah, okay. I'm going to be standing here about
frame
2. Frame. Hello and welcome to Agenda Europe. Have we started, Mother? Have we started yet? Are we on the air? Hello and welcome to Agenda Europe, a review of the key political, financial and business stories of the past 7 days in Europe. I'm Nigel Roberts. Well, on the agenda for this week, indecision day for Britain and the euro. Yes in principle, but no in practice. Gordon Brown finally reveals the result of those 5 economic tests, holding out some hope that Britain may eventually join the single currency. But is it a triumph of spin over substance? But whilst Britain stays on the fence, Poland votes overwhelmingly and enthusiastically to join the European Union. Meanwhile, the EU convention agrees a much anticipated draft constitution. Well, coming up in the next half hour, to join or not to join, we're going to hear from Unilever's Niall Fitzgerald about why he believes that adopting the single currency would be good for business in the UK. And also on the agenda this week, as the EU reaches a landmark deal over the new constitution, we'll get a full briefing from Raymond Franken in Brussels. And of course, we'd like to hear your questions or thoughts or comments, so email us agendaeurope@cnbceurope.com. And joining us throughout the programme this week as our guest investors, John Hatherly, Head of Global Analysis at M&G Asset Management. Now, I mean, you're handling money, you're trying to make money out of this market. Been quite good lately. What's this week been like?
This week's been a bit more of a crossover point. I mean, it has been, the sentiment is good, there's been some useful gains, the financials have been very good, but there are signs after 3 months, and it is a landmark, that it's getting a little bit more cautious.
Well, next on Agenda Europe, a look ahead to the important economic events we can expect in Europe and the US next week. Rick Santelli joining us from the Chicago Board of Trade. Stay tuned. It's Nigel. How are you doing, mate?
Hi, Nigel. Did you get my message from Robert?
No, I didn't. I've just been in the studio, so I missed it. What was it?
Basically, let's talk a little about the Freddie Mac buybacks, mortgage buying because of dropping 10-year, and compare 5 and 10-year rates in US, Europe, and UK.
Okay.
Along with University of Michigan and Fed funds.
Yeah, and presumably nobody expected the Fed to move early this week, did they?
Well, not to the extent that they're looking at now.
Okay. Okay, Fed fund differentials. All right. Yeah.
64% of that second quarter.
Welcome back to Agenda Europe. I'm Nigel Roberts. We're still on the agenda. We're going to cross to Frankfurt. John Holland will be asking whether Germany is, as some are suggesting, facing a credit crunch. But let's go to the trading pit of the Chicago Board of Trade and join Rick Santelli. Well, Rick, an awful lot of news flow coming out for your market this week. I mean, it started off with a bit of bad news for the mortgage lenders.
Well, you know, bad news takes many different forms. What's bad news for the mortgage investors in particular is spectacular news for anybody in the States who has a mortgage.
Rick, thank you very much. Rick Santelli in Chicago. Well, how things changed. 3 months ago, German banking stocks were a bit like toxic waste, unloved and undervalued. But since then, they've become one of Europe's hottest sectors. Now this week they again topped the gainers list. More talk of recovery and takeovers, but still a certain amount of nervousness there about the possibility of a credit crunch. Our Frankfurt bureau chief, John Holland, has been looking at that. John, so that's a scary concept.
It is a scary concept, and it's one that's been haunting us for a long time, and I'm sad to say it looks like it will continue to haunt us for some time to come.
All right, John Holland, thank you very much for that. The other John here in the studio, John Hatherly. They've had a good run since the bottom of the market, outperforming in many ways, and bearing in mind what John's been talking about, good time to sell the German banks?
I think it is to sell some of the weakest ones have been the best. Commerzbank and HVB, which are really on their backs, have rallied on relief that things are not getting worse, and of course the level of the market's important.
Let's get out to Dan now, reviewing the best and the worst of the week's major market moves. Daniel, what kind of week's it been?
Well, again, Nigel, I'd say the buyer's in control this week. Check out the top of the leaderboard. Zetrodax putting on a further 4.5% or so this week. As far as fallers are concerned, well, not really too many casualties. We had Norway just falling by about 2%. Belgium was off a similar amount as well. Nigel, back to you.
All right, Daniel, thank you very much. John Hatherly is still with us, and we can see there the DAX actually, I mean, over 3 months, a mega 44% gain. I mean, is it getting toppy at these sort of levels? It's gone very far, very fast.
It has. It's partly compensating for the fact that it fell by a major amount in the 3 months or so before that. It is looking toppy, and of course at the same time all the data on the German economy, and the economy isn't the same as the stock market, is still pointing downwards.
All right, okay, John Hatherly, thank you very much for that. Well, I hope that's been useful for you, giving you an idea of what's happened this week, some idea about strategy as well. Let's have a quick look and see what we have next week coming through. We can see there the Bank of England minutes. They're going to be coming through as well from the last meeting there as well, and some fairly crucial numbers coming out from the Eurozone. In terms of corporate data, well, we are getting some biggies coming through there as well. TUI will be quite interesting with their AGM. That's the way it looks on Agenda Europe. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your weekend.